Hi guys, happy Saturday and welcome to Talent Talk. I'm your guest host Chingaze, and today we are lucky enough to be sitting down with Mr. Brock Skretting. I've got some questions, he's got some answers, and since this is live, you can actually ask him questions too. Just type them out and we'll see them somewhere on the screen and then we'll answer them. Anyway, so Brock is the man behind Keep Alberta Rolling. Let's figure out what else he's doing. Please help me welcome Mr. Brock Skretting. Where are you, Mr. Brock? There you are. Hey, buddy.
Oh, hello, Chingaze. How's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. How are you?
Really good.
Even after last night's game?
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't quite have the outcome I would have personally preferred, but I guess we're all Team Alberta here, so I'm going to just have to swallow that one and move on.
You have to be Team Alberta. I don't. I can be regional. Millet. Have you heard of Millet, Alberta? It's a place.
Have. Yeah.
You have.
A real place? Yeah.
It's a real place with real humans, and that's the only place I support. I don't believe they have any teams, but I support them. So listen, man, thank you so much for joining us today and sitting down with us and talking all things Keep Alberta Rolling. I don't know enough about that organization to even call it an organization. Do I call it a movement? What do I call it? What does the lay person call it?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Keep Alberta Rolling. It's a nonprofit organization, but really it is a brand for the Alberta film industry to latch onto. We started in late 2018. Myself and Vince Varga and Scott Lutley. So Vince Varga was a publicist at 669, which is a camera union, and Scott Lutley is a gaffer in IATSE 212, which is the trade technicians union, and we were just looking for ways to better promote the industry, help it be understood by the province, certainly by the general public of Alberta, and the local leaders and politicians, and work together to build a brand so that we can take advantage of the opportunity that is the global growth of content creation and storytelling. And obviously Alberta has a long history of filmmaking and creative endeavors, but we wanted to get online and get the word out about all the amazing people behind the scenes and all the things that go into the film industry that the general population might not be privy to if they're a movie fan, but not necessarily a filmmaking fan. So how can we bridge that gap of understanding? And that's where we try to come in as Keep Alberta Rolling.
Wonderful, man. Thank you so much for talking to us today. Hey, everyone, that was Brock Skretting. We'll be back next week with another guest. That was the most concise interview I've ever done, Brock. I appreciate your time so much. Oh, wait, no, we're only 4 minutes. What's happening? Hey, man, I've got questions for you. Listen, I want to talk about Vince. I want to go back to Vince because I knew him as a child when he was only 6'5". I think he kept growing. I really like that fellow. But anyway. How did you get involved? How did you first get involved in this industry? Actually, how about that? Let's take a step back from the rolling.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm from originally from Vauxhall, Alberta, small town. I took new media in University of Lethbridge with the hope and intention of pursuing a career in the film industry, and I landed an internship on a show called Klondike, which was a gold rush discovery 6-episode miniseries. So I spent that winter all the way into June in that production office and kind of being mentored under a lot of different departments, but primarily the production office itself, and helping just do errands and learn what all the behind the scenes work that happened.
Right. Oh, we lost Brock for a second, so I just want to say, wait, I'll just say on Klondike, Mr. Tim Roth punched a friend of mine during a scene who was dumb enough to turn to him and say, "Hey man, you have to rough me up in this scene. I do a lot of stunts. So if you want to be rougher, and Tim's like, and the scene started, he just punched him right in the face. Hopefully you
Listen,
didn't experience that in the offices.
no. I did hear it was tumultuous shoot, that's for sure. Yeah, but and then I went on to work on many different shows in the production office, and then moved into assistant directing on Winona Earp, and I worked on Revenant and some of the Interstellar, some of the other shows. So that gave me a lot of contacts and context of the industry, and what was kind of going on in both the television and film side, and how we could potentially grow it. And there was always this chatter on sets of we don't get the support or development that's needed when you compare the film industry to a place like BC or Ontario or Georgia. Obviously LA and New York have legacy success and started the industry in a sense, but why is that? And so we tried to have a bunch of conversations. There's a lot of different groups that have all very similar goals, and we tried to make a very friendly, public facing information brand about that conversation, and how can we work together with general Albertans, local leaders like mayors and councillors, chambers of commerce, and economic developers, and MLAs to grow this industry, and really all get at least to whatever degree is possible on the same page. So
Right.
yeah.
Did you notice any difference between the last mayor and this mayor with how? Because I know he was a still huge film buff. I saw him at every SIF. Every year I'd run into him. Any difference in that relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had actually too much contact with Jody. She's done a lot of shout outs about the film industry and seems to be a fan. I think in a more general sense, there was like the city contact would be Calgary Economic Development and the work that they do at the Film Commission there with Luke Azevedo and Lissa and Aaron O'Connor. But just in general, the leaders throughout the province getting word of if there's a project even happening, right? Like tapping into our social media so that they can know if we're doing a screening or if something is coming to the neighboring town. They can talk about it with their contacts and just be more finger on the pulse. So I think that Mayor Nenshi was definitely a fan of the industry and would always come to film festivals and things. I expect that Jody would be the same, but the conversation outside of Calgary, like province wide, was definitely necessary and coordinated. You've seen just this week, for example, the Edmonton Screen Industries Office and Calgary Economic Development are both at Con, and they're putting out amazing messaging that's like the whole province is working together to push this. It's not Edmonton versus Calgary. It's not urban versus rural. It's everyone together pushing for growth of this industry because of the jobs that it creates and the opportunities that it creates for people. So that's a really good step forward and promising for the future for sure.
Right. Well, yeah, there's a few things you touched upon there. Now, when we're talking about growth and whatnot, it's very easy to sort of sit back and go like, we've got all these talented artists and artisans. We've got the mountains. And when I say the mountains, I don't mean like the mountains, but you have places that are rural, you can control the traffic.
Yep.
You can, we've already got, so there's beautiful backdrops here. You've already got the 78-cent dollar or whatever it is today. I don't know. So you've got all these things, but if they bring, like, do we have, I know we don't have, there's not a cap on the ceiling right now. It's sort of like, I heard it's gone up 200 something million dollars or whatnot, but is there a cap a cap on how many projects we can actually have with how much talent we have right now? Like, how close are we to our, are you the
Yeah,
right guy to ask about that?
yeah. I mean, there's a number of people that could speak to that. Definitely one of them. So that cap or the flexible
Imaginary.
cap
Yeah. Cool.
that is on the tax credit as the announcement came out this week. But really, that's been indicated for since last March, certainly, that they're willing as a government to grow the industry or grow the incentive as the industry grows. At a certain point, you don't have the people who have experience, and it takes time to once you get on set, certainly in those crew positions, that you have to be trained first and foremost with the unions or with schools into set etiquette and how a film set works. But then there's a whole nother stage of that time spent on multiple shows and that experience that you get from lived experience and working in those positions and under pressure for a long time. So that is basically there's a natural cap on how many shows will be able to come in because of that. But that being said, with the indicator of growth that the support is there and that the government's not going to turn away any projects that want to shoot here, that feel that they can supply the talent, then that has kicked off training into high gear, right? So lots of organizations like IATSE 212, certainly DGC, Creatives Empowered for people of color and Indigenous people. They're all working together, studios as well, to provide equipment for those initial training classes to try to get people their foot in the door to get on set, get those first credits, and then get the experience that they need to, so that we can expand our crew base. And one thing that they always say is that Alberta became really good at training because we didn't have the support. So we would train people, they'd work on a couple shows, and then they'd move out to Vancouver, they'd move out to Ontario or where have you. And so that other part of that conversation is hopefully some of those people who have got some of that experience will now come back and they'll find opportunity to step up into higher roles than maybe they were on the coast, or if they are in the highest roles, to train people, because some advantages that we have that are unrelated to the specific tax credit support for the industry are affordability and quality of life here. So if you can afford a home versus you can afford a good house mortgage on what would be a single bedroom apartment in Vancouver, that's a pretty compelling reason to move if you have especially a young family. Quality of life, obviously, like you said, the mountains, but there's so many other things to see and do in Alberta, and great communities to live in, and one that's great backdrops for projects. We've got all the different small towns that you can shut down a main street, and you can you can get the look of pretty much any period, because there's brick buildings, there's Victorian kind of wooden structures in certain towns. There's foothills, there's the Badlands that all have different sections of, say, Drumheller or Dinosaur Provincial Park, have insane variation in the looks that they can create. And then you have amazing built sets like CL Ranch, Albertina. You have up in Edmonton, you have Fort Edmonton Park. So we have those great period backdrops. We have a lot of things going for us as a province that suits this industry perfectly. So I think we're circling back to your original question. There is a natural cap on how quickly you can safely grow, and how experienced people people need experience before they step into certain roles, or else it's just not safe. But that being said, there's lots of positions that are entry level or transferable from other skills. So it's a great industry to scale up in Alberta.
Okay. Um, I always think comedic when I'm speaking to intelligent people. And when you said there's transferable skills, I'm like, I know a guy who's a Walmart greeter. Now, what can you do for him in the film industry? Can he just be the guy at the front where you're like, you could park over there. Welcome to this parking lot. Something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
So that's transferable.
that's great transferable skills. He
That's
could
great.
be the parking person. He could be a cast assistant. He can get coffee for the producers. He can do
Okay,
all sorts of
I'm gonna let my buddy know, but that's too many things to write down. I'll just tell him
he's
he can't.
highly
I don't want to
employable.
give him three choices. He's just not that guy. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
Maybe one or two.
right.
Um, anyway, so when I said mountains, I meant scenery, and also the funny thing is because we always sort of think of Alberta, all of Alberta as one thing. We think of it as being great for pieces. Pieces? Is that the plural?
Sure.
Okay.
I know what you
Uh,
mean.
yeah. Hey, that's nice. But but I always think of sort of cowboys and westerns and stuff. But you're like, no, dude. There's streets here that just look like the '60s, and that's just what you need. It's just the '60s. So there's
Yeah,
lots of
exactly.
things that they can do here. Um, so yeah, I don't know what the imaginary cap is on how many productions we can have here. But the nice thing is, success breeds success, and as you say, they'll just be more. Actually, I think it's SAIT here in Calgary. I think their film, their film production thing, whatever, just has more students in it now. They just opened it up. Like however many they used to have, they just have 20% more or something. So, maybe we'll keep up. I was going to ask, um, directing. That's kind of where you now. Is that kind of what was that your love? Was that what you wanted to sort of be?
That was the original, I'd say original thoughts, what, and when you get in, you kind of get your foot in wherever you can, and then go to, learn, right? Like, as long as I'm kind of happy doing any job, as long as I'm in a position learning,
Okay.
and have access to, people who are smarter than I am to see what it is that they're good at, and how can I take some of that from my osmosis. So I know that yeah, assistant directing is kind of the organizational side of that, and production coordinating, production office is very much the paperwork behind the scenes, organizational of getting departments what they need. So it was an education as I went through out to, like, that there's not just directing or acting or camera operator that are jobs in this industry. There's a wide range of jobs that suit all sorts of different skill sets. And
Mhm.
you speaking of talking to the general public, that they might not consider that, if there's a house that's a set, someone had to build that set if it's a set. So that's construction, paint, set decorating. There's people out in the in the community shopping for antiques, for things to
Wow.
fit the script. There's obviously organizers like the production officer, assistant directors, but there's the technicians that light it. There's grips that are kind of like on-set engineers that guide the light and guide the camera. There's locations people who have to liaise with the community and set up to make sure that all things are in place for all of this to happen. So any one production can hire anywhere from 100 to 1,000 people, and that's a lot of opportunity for people that may not be considering the film industry as a possibility. So I think that yeah, I kind of went from thinking directing might be a cool thing to being like, actually industry building is a really cool thing, because providing opportunity for people where they might not expect it, can, especially in the time that we are in Alberta's history, be a great help and a change for people's lives and livelihoods. So if you can help foster that, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd say that's a noble pursuit, definitely. I was going to ask if you had any interest in going back to, directing at some point. Oh, look at Mr. Matt Waterworth. That's not a question.
The guy
He said, "This is one and a half of my favorite people." That's what he meant. Anyway,
good guy.
Now, yeah, he's all right. He is all right. I like all people that I think I can fight and have a good chance of winning against. And I like no people that I don't think I could physically dominate. That's just how it is. That's how it is. Right. But that's me. That's me. I was picked on a lot, and then I became a bully for a while because that was better. That was better for me.
That was compensated. There you go.
Yeah, overcompensated. So then, man, let's get back to Keep Alberta Rolling for a second. So it's a nonprofit. Did it start in 2018? Or is it?
Yeah, like late like December 2018. So officially, so we had started conversations with lots of different groups, and we got some support from Calgary Economic Development and Directors Guild, and at the time IATSE and ACTRA and Teamsters, and said like this is what we want to do. So we shot a couple of videos. One was of Jeff Marsland, who's a Jenny Op who came from the oil industry and became Jenny Op, which is obviously runs the generator, runs power to circus and to set. And we thought like these are the stories that Albertans need to hear and need to see, so that they can see themselves in the film industry and see opportunity in this growing sector. And then we had some barbecues, and 2019 was not too bad of a year. Obviously, Ghostbusters shot, Let 'Em Go shot. We got on all the industry as a whole got on all the election platforms for the election that was happening that year. So because that was happening, we ran into a lot of MLAs and people that had interest in having influence in the province, and then the obviously in 2020 the pandemic hit, so we had to switch our strategy a little bit to say the least. We weren't
not as many barbecues or in-person meetings.
Yeah, no one was having any in-person anything. So so the opportunity from that though was that a lot of people throughout rural Alberta started using things just like this with Zoom and meeting over Zoom. And then the other side of that was that for a short period of time, there was negative oil prices. There was fear of a global recession. There was, a good month there where things were so uncertain, and it was very obvious that this had not been prepared for in any sense of the word by any level of government, and of course our leaders were all very concerned with COVID policy, and likewise in the industry, the back to work COVID protocols and needs for set, and how is set going to work in a COVID environment. That was the dominant conversation, which of course it was, right? Like everyone had to become public health experts overnight, and that definitely was not our strong suit, or where we saw that we could contribute. So what I did was start reaching out more a wider net to those municipal leaders, and especially in rural Alberta, and really take take it to the promise that this was, as this industry grows, we want this to be good for the
try and get them all involved,
entire province, get them all involved, get them plugged into the conversation.
Right, they weren't going to get left behind, basically.
exactly. And then so yeah, they really got behind us. They started talking to governments and promoting the industry. And I think that there's something called the overture window, that with the which is the ideas, the range of ideas that people are generally open to, and that is true for the individuals, and it's true for governments as well. And I think because of the pandemic, that window really widened right open to what are solutions. Like when we have, when we talk about diversification, it's something been talked about forever in Alberta. And but how do we actually? What does that mean? How do we take concrete steps to make that happen? And this was one way that was identified, with that outreach to as a fairly simple way of if we just change this policy and make it business friendly, that business will grow. And there's other ways to look at also, return on investment. The people that were unemployed at that time, if you're looking at how can we spread the type of jobs that are available in this province to be a more diverse range of industries, so that if one's not doing so hot, the others are doing okay. And this is one way to do that, is to grow the film industry, because it touches so many different sectors in terms of skill sets.
Right, right. Um, yeah, and I think diversity in any form is going to help. It's going to help push this thing further. That's just it. You're going to get ideas that you didn't get. You're going to get people are going to be exposed to different cultures, different things, different ways of thinking. And we don't know where the next great idea is coming from. We don't know where the next great talent is coming from. Behind the camera, in front of the camera, we don't know where that's coming from. But if we open the things to that, to some of those people, maybe a little bit more marginalized. Actually, when you said diversity, I'm like, just do what Gary did. Gary is the creator of this show. So he's to blame for everything we say. Please don't write to
There
me,
you go.
anyone. But what he did to create diversity was one day he just didn't want to do it on a Saturday. He's got a life, and he's just
There you
like,
go.
hey, man, can you help me with this? You're brown. He never said that. He's a good man. He was thinking it. And I said, yeah, I'd like to. I would like to help. And he said, yeah, so do it. And so here I am. And here you are. Okay, so listen, how I shouldn't have written any questions down, because I wrote questions down in like bullet points. You know what I mean? Like when I'm like, okay, so I wrote about Alberta Rolling. It's just off my screen, and I also have a paper copy in case things jump. And I'm just like, what changes have you seen from 2018 to now? How did the pandemic affect some? But you're giving it all. You're taking a paintbrush, and you're just like, and I'm like, I'm sure he's answered some of these. Which is great. I like that you know what you're doing. I appreciate that, and the viewers appreciate it.
I do my best.
All right. Well, I don't think anyone should do their best all the time. You gotta limit expectations. You know what I mean? Try and do your best 75% of the time. I would think that's the way to go. That's just me. Have you noticed other industries that have nothing to do, if you're just generally thinking, they have nothing to do with the film industry? You know what I mean? Have you noticed anything about this Keep Alberta Rolling that it's stretching into these other? Have you seen anyone else holding a banner that you're like, oh, that's cool. I wouldn't even have considered this industry, this job, this thing caring at all about what we're doing. Have you noticed any of that? Like the far reachings off?
Yeah, I think we intentionally, with our outreach, particularly in 2020, there was obviously, when film production shut down for 4 months, you don't have a lot of film production to talk about, and there wasn't a lot of positive things to talk about. So in my travels throughout the province and conversations on economic development boards and things of that nature, I go, what are the what are the key industries in this area, and what are the cool things that people are caring about, and obviously I want to grow the film industry, but they're just learning about it. Like some places are well versed. You take a High River or Didsbury, it's really grown in the last couple of years, or a Cochrane. Some places very well versed. Other places, like, the last time something shot here was 1985, and that sounds pretty cool what you're doing, but I don't know anything about it. So listening to what's important to them. A lot of times it's, of course, agriculture, energy, forestry, the resource-based industries of Alberta. But what we found in those conversations was, lots of them had unexpected connections to the industry or interest in the industry, and they started engaging just based on, it doesn't cost us anything to share, to talk about open farm days, and to visit some a sawmill or a food tourism farming operation, and talk about it and put it on our platform, even though it doesn't have anything directly related to what we're doing. Oftentimes there are things that they're trying to accomplish that are parallel to what we're trying to accomplish. And when you look at general very high level societal problems like urban rural gap, and how can we contribute to making that less of an issue and more of an opportunity. I think it starts with conversations, and it starts with reaching out not just in a transactional way of, I want something for you. I want to shoot this film here, or I want to grow the film industry, but a more relational way of, what are you interested in? What do you find to be important? What do you love about Alberta? And there are more things that people of this province have in common than what divides them. So I think, like, by taking that time to visit people, you learn a lot about how to obviously make your point of what you're trying to do, but also to help them make theirs. And oftentimes, there's just a lot of good jujubes, good symbiotic opportunities for industries to work together in this province.
Very cool. Now, I don't know when you are going to consider that you've done your job with this nonprofit, with this thing. I don't know if you have a number, a time, or if you just have a successor who comes in and you're like, this is the guy who's going to take us the next 10 years and then get into politics. When's that going to happen, Brock? When are you going to become a politician? Because you've got my vote until the day you become a politician.
There you go. Yeah, no, I don't think that's they don't have a very easy job, but I definitely appreciate those who put their name forward for service, and appreciate all the certainly local leaders. I really admire, because they're so focused on how to serve people, not how to elevate themselves or elevate their names, but real problems that people face in their communities, and how to challenge, or how to tackle fixing them together, and within the confines of a budget, obviously, always. So yeah, I definitely admire politicians, but I don't think never say never, I guess, but I don't think.
Like you have no grand sort of allusions towards that. You're not. That's never entered your mind as you're going to these small towns and you're seeing like farms and you're shaking people, except for during a pandemic, maybe you're doing the elbow touch, whatever. You've never thought about that? Man,
no,
I think you're pretty good at it.
I think there's ways you can have a positive influence and maybe have even more so of an effect without the title sometimes. So I like being in the communities.
Party lines. across party lines and stuff. Because in the pre thing, I know we were talking about labels for a second, and you're not hugely into labels, and I think that's probably why you're more successful. So anyway, I want to ask. I guess I wanted to ask who were the first champions off this this organization. Were there individual people, or was it like it's IATSE? It's were there any individuals who were like, yeah, man, let's help you do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think like lots of lots of people contributed in different ways. Like when you go back to the High River barbecue, everyone contributed to that. It was a wonderful community event. It was the Teamsters supplied a truck, and everyone helped put out tables and chairs, and Calbacues came and made the food, and local musicians came and sang, and then we had some volunteers from IATSE, like, and it's always people, right? Like like when we say IATSE, it's crew members, it's Scott Lutley, it's Emily Brenner Wallace, it's different people that are on crews that are actually carrying out that work. So there was lots of people, and someone I want to particularly shout out is Sasha McLaughlin. So she came in 2020 and joined the board because Scott got busy working, which is good. Good problem to have. Everyone was kind of working, and so she came in and said, like, how do we push this conversation forward, and she's got an eye for detail and a tenacity about her. So she helped with the, if we wanted to send a letter to all the MLAs, let's make it fancy, let's make it stand out, and had that kind of touch, and then now she's working on a lot of amazing initiatives for training specific to hair and outreach for people of color. So she's doing co-teaching that she's going to announce soon with specific. I think in this case, it's black hair hairstyling, and how we have to get very specific and more intelligent about how we train people for different situations in this industry, because that's a value add. That's something that people are looking for, and they're looking for throughout all levels of the industry. So I think particular shout out to her for sure.
Nice. And you can also maybe do another buddy class with how to light people of color next to people who look like they lived in a tunnel their whole lives.
Yeah, exactly.
That's also helpful as an aside.
It's anyway. every department, right? Like I think that's a one department example, and her particular department. So she's got the expertise on it, but you're exactly right.
So how many people are involved right now? Like you say, the board. Is there a board, and then do you have like soldiers? Do you have like what? How many people are in the organization?
No, we just have.
I use the term soldiers like I use the term mountains. It doesn't mean soldiers.
In a very kind, general way. Yeah, exactly.
But soldiers. That's a thing.
Yeah. No, it's just kind of the three of us. But when we're doing events and things, people are always down to help out, and
so we can come volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, it is a volunteer at this point.
What about a T-shirt? Can we get one of those T-shirts?
You can get a T-shirt
with almost the map of Alberta, but then it's broken up with writing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. Nice. Well, gosh, how about where do you think this thing is headed? Oh, hey, we just got a question. I'm going to put it up here because I was basically. There it is. Do you have an end goal? A moment where you can sit back and think, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely been the question of the last little bit here. That announcement from government this week definitely, and continued support from Minister Schweitzer definitely shows that that relationship and that key part of it is pretty is set out pretty well. You know, you can never be complacent with that. It's always new people coming in and new faces, and their understanding or you know, how much they support the industry may differ. But I think that, yeah, when we set out to do this, we set out to build a, you know, province-wide brand and follow in the kind of footsteps of Georgia, and now we're competitive with Georgia. So do we want to take that to you know, continue to promote you know, promote the things that are going on and
Well, let's continue to promote Georgia for a while, and then they will raise up, and then we can compete with them again. Why don't we just do that? You know, like the fastest you've ever run, not being chased, is when you're running with a faster sprinter. That's just how it works. So
yeah.
I think we should start promoting Georgia right now. And I like their little peach. I like their little peach logo. Maybe we can incorporate that into the Albertan logo. I know some people. I'll get you in contact with them.
We go. We got it.
And then yeah, because once we surpass them, then what are we going to do?
Well,
Nothing. So,
well, we're going to keep on keeping on, because that means
okay.
that, you know, that means 60,000 people in the province would be working at good jobs, and we'd be promoting the you know, our landscapes and our talent and our amenities and communities to the world. So that that size, that would be the dream. Because when you take a project like The Last of Us, and it's certainly the biggest you know, series that Alberta has ever done, and 50 million active users play that video game. So when that TV show comes out and it goes through the HBO machine, it's not crazy. Like, that's kind of a minimum, right? Like 50 million people will watch that TV show. Minimum. It might be 100 million. I don't want to put a number on it, but I would say the absolute baseline number of that would be 50 million. So if you consider the legislature, Canmore, Fort Macleod, downtown Calgary, downtown Edmonton, Grand Prairie, you know, Okotoks, High River, all these places that we somewhat take for granted as Albertans because we live here, and we say like, well, yeah, I've been there and it's cool. People around the world will be finding out about for the first time. And if 1% of those people who watch the movie come and visit here, that's a tremendous secondary wave of wealth that's going to be coming into the province. That creates a lot of opportunity for the people in those communities. So I think, like, thinking in those terms, yeah, we can just keep on, you know, keep on training, keep on working at growing this industry, and
yeah, absolutely. That's a wonderful byproduct off this thing, because if you think about the dollars places, especially small places, spend on advertising. Do you mean like, please come down to us? We make honey. Well, yeah, all right, man. But do you know what I mean? And to get into 50 million homes or whatever, and because we've done that over the years. It was harder pre-internet, but you'd see something and you're like, that's the coolest waterfall I've ever seen, or that. Where the hell was this shot? And you look it up. You know, very impressive. This sounds like a joke question, but it's not. I wanted to ask, with our successes in these last few years, you know, including pandemic or minus pandemic from it, have you considered? I don't think there's a system for this. This seems like it was a natural thing of people getting together and being like, look, these industries are interested in pushing this forward. Let's all talk. But if there is a system now, because you guys have done it well, you've made mistakes, you've learned, you've streamlined, whatever, would you ever consider building a system and giving it to another province? You know what I mean? Like Saskatchewan is dying for a real film industry. They end up hiring actors from here to come, and you know, because it's happened a few times, and you're like, well, why? They're like, well, they've seen our 30 guys. We don't need to see our 30 guys in a commercial anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So would you consider sharing the wealth? Because we are Alberta. but we're also Canada, so is that a thing?
For sure. Yeah, no, I think I think it could be. I've definitely considered it. I haven't gone down that road, but I think in Saskatchewan in particular, we have so many things in common with Saskatchewan, and sometimes when we were having that conversation about the tax credit and things of that nature, we would, because we're comparing ourselves in size to a British Columbia or an Ontario, and they're in the same country, we would sometimes conflate that with competing with them. And this is a globally competitive marketplace and industry. So lots of times the projects that are considering Alberta are those projects that are New Mexico or Georgia or UK. Different. It's based on sometimes on landscapes as much. The tax credit is a big thing, but the we're not always competing for the same projects with those provinces. We're just basically measuring ourselves against them. So likewise, I think as Alberta grows, it kind of behooves us to support some of the maybe smaller provinces in fostering their industry or bolstering their crews and opportunities in their places, because then those crews are going to be more comfortable working in Alberta and have a relationship and support the industry here, and it can be more maybe perhaps collaborative than competitive. But yeah, it's not something we've done, but it's certainly it's not been asked of us for sure, or we've been approached about it.
Well, I suggest you make something before you leave this job for your eventual job in politics. Make that your legacy between. So if you do fail in politics, you're like, yeah, but I helped out all these provinces. What other politician can say that? Not many. Anyway, Brock, this has been 47 minutes of your life and mine to a lesser degree. I appreciate you taking this time, man, and letting us know all this information. I know I had one other question, but I can't seem to find it. So, it goes into the ether.
There you
go. Just say something for a second while no.
All right. Well,
no. I'm going to keep saying no while you're talking. I hope that's not distracting.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Nope. That's not it.
I guess one thing I could touch on is we've been working on, regional, like you mentioned, what could be useful for other jurisdictions, or would we do this for other jurisdictions? What we've been focused on is obviously growth in Alberta. So one thing, an expansion basically of the work that we did in the last couple of years was taking it from a singular municipal level in the conversations to a regional level. And there's economic development regions that sometimes cover 10 communities or 15 communities all together, and they meet monthly and make decisions as a group rather than singularly. So we worked on this initiative called Film Friendly Southwest Alberta, which is basically Nanton, Claresholm, all the way to Waterton, Crow's Nest Pass, and Cardston and Fort Macleod. And they take the example of Fort Macleod, right? So we might take, when we're comparing it to BC, or we're comparing it to Calgary, obviously Fort Macleod has 10 projects. To Fort Macleod, that's a big deal. Like that's an awesome feather in their cap. They had Ghostbusters there. They had Let 'Em Go there. They had Brokeback Mountain there. They had Passchendaele there. They had amazing projects in that community. And how can we, and now Last of Us, how can we implement the same policy that they had in Fort Macleod at a municipal level and have it in all those communities, and then give them kind of a regional blueprint so that they can, promote things that happen in their region, and then also other regions can potentially take that and copy it and do it for their region, so that we just have a more coordinated way of promoting all these, particularly rural Alberta. Like I said, it's just at the heart of the organization. We started all coming from rural Alberta. We want to push that some of the greatest value for making projects in Alberta happens in rural Alberta, and we want to push for more projects and longer shoots in rural Alberta.
Okay. I like that as a hashtag, which you just casually mentioned, particularly rural. Particularly, actually, it's hard to say. Probably easier to type. I like that as as the next hashtag. Anyway, yeah, man, I think we are coming to the end of this. And as I always say, the only thing I work on less than intros is outros. So just be prepared. No, listen, man, you're a fountain of information, and I so appreciate you sitting down with us and talking to our viewers and teaching me a thing or two as well,
Well,
which
thank
I
you
will
so much.
forget instantly after this. This is a blur. These are always blurs to me.
I appreciate you having me on, and to everyone who took the time to watch. And yeah, I like these things.
Oh, nice. I like these things. I'm putting that on my next T-shirt.
There
Now,
you go.
Brock, you stick around. You stick around after for a debriefing. Gary usually likes to talk to the guests and apologize for something I've done. At any rate, okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this week's Talent Talk. We'll be back next week with another guest. Hopefully, they'll be as interesting as this guy. Oh, yes, subscribe to the YouTube channel today. Today, it's simply pressing 1 or 3 buttons. Everyone can do that. I mean, that's why I'm here. All right, guys, thank you so much. Take care. See you next time. Ciao.